Yes. Yes, I began recording. Please go ahead, Miss Sylvia.
Thank you. I was invited by Shawqia to talk about remote teaching, in particular, this idea of how to stimulate our learners' motivation. And so I thought of starting by the two questions that Shawqia posed in my mail. Why are students reluctant to join our remote sessions? And how can we encourage them to engage more and more in this new kind of learning? These two questions have driven the whole presentation. Let's see if we can start by answering them. Question number one, and I would like you to write in the chat the answer to this question. What do you think is the biggest challenge in online teaching? What do you think is the biggest challenge in online teaching? Is it supporting students pastorally? Is it keeping students interested and engaged? Is it quality of materials? Is it limits of technology? Is it accessibility and access for everyone? Is it timing and scheduling? Are there any other reasons that I haven't mentioned? So please go to the chat and write what you think is the biggest challenge in online teaching. Okay, I have opened the chat to see what you're writing, and probably I might need some translation in case I don't understand. Okay, already we have one there. Limits of technology. Limits of technology again. So we have 2 votes for limits of technology. Again, limits of technology. Thank you. Let's see what other reasons. No strategic planning, says Omar. This is something I hadn't considered. Thank you. Quality of materials. Thank you. Oh, we have a lot here. Lack of motivation. All of them, in fact. Okay, thank you, Gada. Limits of technology again. The internet, the connection, and the students' engagement. Thank you, Abir. Most of the students are unable to use technology, so it's lack of skills that they have. So it's related to technology. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Gadir. Keeping students interested, that's a key issue. Limits of technology appears again. Limits of technology. Accessibility, not everybody has access to what is offered. Students' attitudes, this is something that we hadn't considered. Cutting power, yes, you are so right. This happens everywhere. Okay, so we have quite a lot here. Let me know that I brought this idea from a course that I am attending as a student called How to Teach Online. It's a Future Learn, it's a MOOC course. You can all access because it is for free. You just Google Future Learn, How to Teach Online, and you will have access to a lot of ideas and suggestions. And there are, I don't know how many thousands of teachers attending the ideas that they bring along are fascinating. So I thought of using this to share your results, what you have considered. Most of you looked at limits of technology as a big challenge. And let me show you what these teachers in this online course, these thousands of teachers who are participating, considered. And what a coincidence. It's the same issue that Shawqia called on when she said, I'm interested in talking about motivation and how is it that we can get the students to be willing to come to our remote lessons. And in the world where this future learning course is being carried out, 48% of the teachers said that what they feel most challenging is keeping students interested and engaged. So this is what will promote and make us talk today, this particular issue. So where shall we start, I asked. And then I turned to this question. The first question you need to ask yourself is, who are my students? Because motivation will definitely depend on a number of variables, but the key variable is my learners. So when analyzing this from the point of view of the student, I came up with this suggestion from, again, the same course, How to Teach Online. They suggest that we look at our students from 3 different perspectives. The general perspective, who are my students? How old are you? Most of you told me that you have little children and adolescents. Most of you have primary and secondary levels. What level are they? What level of English do they have? Where are they in the course of studies? Have they reached a more advanced level? Are they beginners? Who might they rely on to help them or facilitate their learning? They are at home receiving remote learning. What is happening there at home? And I go now to the next part, because is there anybody at home to help them? Do they have a friend who can tell them via internet how to cope with the online activities that we give them? We ask them to come to a Zoom meeting. Do they know how to download the app? And then I pass on to the next part, because that would be the general thing. Now, digitally literate, can they come to the computer with ease and comfort? Look at the questions that are included here. What physical setting might they be in when engaging with you on your teaching? Are they sitting in one room with the whole family? Are they alone in their bedroom? Can they be alone in their bedroom, or are there any brothers and sisters playing around? What devices or connectivity might they have access to? How comfortable are they with the internet? How digitally literate are they? Have they previously learned online, or is this the first time they are learning online? Because they may have watched some videos, they may have worked with some tools in your classroom, but this is completely immersion in the digital world. So what is their experience? And the last part of the skills, health and problem. How adept are they with time management? Can they organize their time and say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to wake up, which my students don't, wake up early, I'm going to do this first, and then at midday, I'm going to stop, I'm going to have lunch with my family, and then in the afternoon, I will continue. Do they have a personal plan? Are they autonomous to do this? Do we need the family to help? How might the sudden move from physical educational space to online context impact on their mental and emotional health? Imagine the big change. We are undergoing a big change. Imagine these kids, these little kids. What about the issues, the health and accessibility issues? Maybe they have a different impact on their ability to succeed. Maybe they are very successful in the classroom, but in this context, they feel uncomfortable or they feel intimidated. They don't want to appear in the Zoom sessions. They don't want to speak. What emotional factors or external stresses might impact their ability to succeed? Are we bearing all this in mind? So I thought that these were good questions to start with. Who are your students? Who are my students? And I bet that you have many other questions. So I am going to look at the chat and see whether you have any other questions that you can pose. Because I see that after I spoke, there were more ideas there. Poverty, limit of technology, parents are not interested. So maybe those can be our new questions. Are parents helping the children to cope with the new reality? That is another question. All right, there, over to you. What questions do you ask yourself about your learners that probably we haven't asked yet? Let's see. What questions haven't we considered already that we might want to ask ourselves and ask our students probably to find out, or ask our students' parents as well. Let's see. Who are their parents? Right. Are their parents at home, or are they doctors and they have to leave home because of their jobs? Yes, good. I mean, we need.
Maybe about the circumstances around them. Maybe they don't have access to internet, or they don't have something related to the technology itself. And this is a big gap for our students. And this is what I know my students.
Exactly, exactly. It's important that you know this, because then your demand will be different. Let's see more questions. In what circumstances do they live? That's another very good question. Do the parents allow them to use the internet? Because sometimes parents don't allow the kids, and everything is online now. How can they do their homework if their parents are not permissive?
Yes,
Very
so
good.
Miss
Excellent.
Sylvia, so we should pay attention for their backgrounds, as you know, as my colleagues say, if their parents have the ability, for example, to have internet access, or if they have internet net access, do they have the ability to have mobiles, for example? And if they have one mobile, for example, for me, for example, as a mother, if I am a mother, just only a mother at home, if I have 4 children, can I, for example, let them, all of them, be engaged in the remote control? It will be a very difficult thing for them, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. So before passing a judgment that our students are not motivated or our students are not doing their work, we must ask ourselves all these questions, because probably before ever passing any judgment, we need to find ways of solving these issues, or not solving them, but having them or taking them into consideration. I see that the chat is full of other ideas. Excellent.
Yes.
Why don't they want to learn? Is it that they don't want to learn, or they don't want to learn in this way because it is really an intimidating way?
Or
Are they
they
going
are,
to be,
or they
yes,
not, or maybe they are not trained to, even the teachers themselves, they are not trained to teach their students in this kind of teaching, so it is very tough
exactly.
thing. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. There's more there. Are they going to be interested with the way, with the apps that we use? What about the learning style of the student? Maybe they are disappointed with the present situation, and they don't want to do anything because they are angry with the situation they are undergoing, the lockdown. Maybe the parents cannot help with the work, with the homework, because they are not educated.
Yes.
That right? Sarah says that there is a need on to train students to deal. Yes, there is a need. So how do we do it, considering the students that we have? One
Yes.
device at home is not enough. Very good. Not everybody can use the device at the same time. How are we going to manage with big families? Are
Yes.
they able to use remote learning programs or new devices? Maybe they haven't.
Yes.
Parents maybe don't use mobiles or laptop. Some fathers don't agree to allow the girls to do online lessons. Very good. Good point. We have to bear that in mind. What about the logistics environment, says Aya? Angada asks, are our students themselves willing to learn or grab the chance? So look at all the different variables we need to consider. So the first thing is have some information about who our learners are, and with that information start, with the help of the school authorities, designing some plans and alternative options, because if we stick to only one way, we might leave a lot of people behind. So what do I suggest? I suggest doing a bit of research to find out what is it that people, specialists in online learning, say about how to improve this situation, all the situations that we have described. And I have taken two models. I have picked two out of many. One is Gilly Salmon's 2011 five-stage model of online teaching and learning. And I would like to look at the ways Gilly organized the progression. And today, I would like to only look at the first step for any type of online work. And look at the words, the two words that appear in the first step: access and motivation. Access. Do they have their internet connection? Do they have the devices? Can they access all the material we have prepared for them? So important to find a way to open this channel, because if the channel is closed, if there is no road to my student, then evidently nothing will actually appear. Now, that is a big issue, access, and this is something we need to work on with the school authorities. We cannot solve the access problem that the student has. Maybe the Ministry of Education may start thinking of some ways to bring this forward. In the case of the province where I work, they cannot give devices to the students because the province is very large. So they have decided to design some booklets in paper, which are left in supermarkets or places where people go and get their food or buy, or sometimes they are given bags full of food, so that the booklets are, and with the booklets and channel lessons, they are making up for what they cannot do without computers, because they won't be able to give out electronic devices. So that is one idea of access. But let's go to the other one, the motivation part, right? Suppose that our students can reach us, but then do they come back? Or do they come in once and then they disappear? How do we get them to come back? So now I'm going to the other framework, because the other framework makes a point of the same, but in particular, the other framework talks about the community that we need to build. For somebody to want to come back and look, here I am here and I am highly motivated to be here, and I was very happy to be here, it's because there was motivation. And the way to create this motivation is by creating a social presence. How is this defined? Garrison defines social presence as the ability of participants to identify with the community, in this case, the group of students, communicate purposefully in a trusting environment. So the environment should be warm, friendly, and develop interpersonal relationships by way of projecting their individual. So on the one hand, the Gilly Salmon's framework that talks about access and motivation. And on the other, this other framework that talks about community of inquiry and how to create the community, placing social presence in one big circle, with important role of setting the climate, the teacher setting the climate, and also a subject discourse, activities that will engage them. So how do we do that? How do we motivate them? How do we create this social presence? For that, I also consulted the course I am attending, the Future Learn course, and they are giving us some ideas. They say that on the one hand, once we have access, once the students have a device and a connection and they are ready to come in, we need to create and share a study engagement task plan with key dates and times. They need to know what we're going to do today, what we're going to do next week. They need to have a clear idea of what we are doing, because that gives them confidence, security. It gives them the possibility of planning, right? It's not just something that, you know, appears and then, oh, I haven't done it because I didn't know when it was. Okay, so that would be more management, managing time, managing tasks. Then start a central place for sharing helpful links, guidance, and support. Some of the teachers talked about Google Classroom. You can also use Edmodo. Maybe you have another platform. There are a number of interesting platforms, but it's a central place. So the students go straight there. And from there, yes, you can send them to different other places, but they always know that that is the place to go. And now we come to this very important notion of create community. They come in, they know when the tasks are, they know what you expect, but we want them to come back. So how do we create this community? And they suggest putting prompts into courses to encourage students to introduce each other, as we did at the beginning, that you were telling me who you were and what you do. Run small and fun competitions for them to contribute. At the element fun, upload very short audio recording, video, a picture of you talking to them, showing them that they are welcome. That is very powerful, and we can do it with our cell phones. And plan formal, small, synchronous sessions, a live session like this one, with non-course focus, with, yes, we are going to use English, but probably for games, for fun. So here we have some ideas that we can start thinking of. And I bet that as you have worked already in this environment, you have already been very good managers of the task, of support, and of community. There is less than 1 minute. Are we going to come in a little while again?
No,
Shawqia?
no, we upgraded that time. Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you very
So go
much.
ahead. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Mr.
So,
Jamal,
yes.
please, sorry for interruption, Miss Sylvia, but I saw a question for Mr. Jamal asks, what kind of assessment can we make for this kind of remote control?
Yes. I am preparing another presentation for online assessment. In this search for new ideas, I have just bought a book by two big specialists of online learning. And if you want, I can share my notes with